Does your operating system work for you or against you? I know what I'm about to say might sound nerdy, distant from the normality with which most people experience computers. The majority just wants to turn on their machine and use it without asking questions. But the point is different. It's not that I'm distancing myself from reality. It's that reality itself, the reality of the tech world, has inflated to the point of absurdity. We've ended up in a race for always more RAM, more background processes, more graphical effects, more services that start on their own, more complexity disguised as modernity. It's as if today, without 64 GB of RAM and a case full of LEDs, you can't even say you have a decent computer. But is this the logic? Is this really progress? What if I told you that the future of Linux isn't about adding more features but removing everything superfluous? Imagine an operating system so lean, so focused, that it redefines what it means to be powerful. We're about to dive into the anti-distro, a minimalist approach that promises unprecedented control and maximum efficiency. Forget everything you thought you knew about Linux distributions. Today, we're unveiling a concept so radical it could upend the entire world of operating systems. This isn't just about being lightweight. It's about a fundamental paradigm shift that puts you in the driver's seat. Leonardo da Vinci once said, "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." Yet, what have we done with Linux? Are you tired of bloated Linux distros that weigh you down with useless features? Open Ubuntu, Fedora, Manjaro, dozens of pre-installed applications you'll never use, services that start automatically, consuming precious RAM, desktop environments loaded with animations and effects. Slow boot times, you wait 30 to 40 seconds just to see the desktop. 2 gigabytes of RAM consumed without opening anything. Difficulty understanding what's really happening in the system. The central question emerges, are we sacrificing efficiency and control for convenience we often don't even need? An anti-distro isn't simply another minimalist distro. It's a fundamental philosophical shift. It's not just removing the desktop environment and calling it minimal. It's rethinking what operating system means. Bare bones kernel and essential utilities. Nothing else. Everything else is modular, user-selected components. The philosophy is simple. Build only what you need, like assembling a custom PC, but for software. The paradigm shift is this. Instead of starting with a complete system and removing what you don't need, the anti-distro starts with a minimal base and adds only what you need. Alpine Linux perfectly embodies this philosophy. Only 135 megabytes for the ISO image. Uses muzzle libc instead of glibc, a lighter and more secure C library. BusyBox replaces hundreds of GNU utilities with minimal implementations. And here's a curiosity. BusyBox was born in the 90s to replace dozens of new tools in embedded environments. Today it's everywhere, from routers to Docker containers, from satellites to Android smartphones. Alpine uses OpenRC instead of systemd for a simple and understandable init system. The APK package manager is fast, efficient, deterministic. Why is Alpine revolutionary? Boot in seconds, even on dated hardware. Base RAM consumption between 20 and 30 megabytes without GUI. Massively used in Docker containers for its lightness. Integrated security with PAX and GR security. Void Linux offers another approach, less extreme but equally powerful. Runit as init system for extreme simplicity and service management. XBPS package manager, fast and reliable. Rolling release, always updated without reinstallations. Without systemd for those who want a more transparent system. Uses XFCE and installs only the bare minimum in terms of tools, applications, and services. For purists, there are Gentoo and Linux from scratch. Gentoo compiles everything from source for your specific hardware. Native CPU optimizations. US flags to control every single feature. Portage, the most flexible package manager in existence. Linux from scratch? You literally build your OS from scratch. Understand every single system component. The ultimate learning experience. As one of its creators said, if you haven't compiled it yourself, you don't really know what's running on your machine. But these are only the beginning. The world of anti-distros is much bigger, with many different paths that all aim for the same goal, removing everything unnecessary and keeping only what truly matters. Slackware, the oldest active Linux distribution, is the purest form of minimalism. No unnecessary automation, no hidden layers, just a clean, stable, and fully transparent system. Crux pushes the KISS philosophy to the extreme and directly inspired Arch Linux. Simple, essential, built around compiling and controlling everything manually. Artix Linux brings the Arch experience without systemd, using lighter init systems like OpenRC or Runit, giving full freedom without intrusive background processes. A minimal Arch install becomes an anti-distro by itself. You start from zero and add only what you need. Bedrock Linux is the brilliant madness of the modular anti-distro, mixing components from multiple distributions into one coherent system. TinyCore and SlyTaz show how far minimalism can go, full systems in 11 megabyte or 50 megabyte. Anti-X brings Debian to hardware that would otherwise be unusable, with no systemd and an extremely tiny footprint. NixOS Minimal, while not lightweight by nature, introduces a revolutionary idea, a fully declarative, reproducible system entirely under user control. CrunchBang++ keeps the spirit of practical minimalism alive, with OpenBox and a fast, distraction-free workflow. All these routes lead to the same destination, a system that's lighter, more transparent, and more yours. And do we want to talk about desktop environments? In my video XFCE, The Last Honest Desktop, it emerged that 95% of those who expressed their opinion love this desktop, even those who used GNOME or KDE, because it's a more human desktop, more focused on performance, and not on dazzling with frills that will eventually slow down the system, or, worse still, change the user experience. And this happens silently, without clamor, without biannual releases with shiny screenshots and presentation videos. This is the spirit of Linux. To give you a good idea, I installed Void Linux on a 2019 laptop with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Honestly, I didn't want to buy a new computer just for 10 days of vacation. I had considered the idea that it would be sacrificing and that I might not be able to do advanced things like video editing. Instead, I was very wrong. With pleasant surprise, using XFCE, simple screen recorder, and shortcuts for Kdenlive, I managed quite easily to create videos for the channel. Sure, with a more basic level of editing, not that my videos are editing masterpieces, but I succeeded. But what surprised me was the overall experience. This whole process happened more or less linearly, without major hiccups, even managing to browse with Firefox during rendering. When you build your system from scratch, you get tangible and measurable advantages. Let's compare performance. Boot time, standard Ubuntu 35-40 seconds. Minimal Alpine Linux, 3 to 5 seconds. Custom Minimal Arch, 5-8 seconds. Idle RAM consumption. Ubuntu with GNOME uses 1.8-2.2 gigabytes. Fedora with KDE 1.1.9 gigabytes. Alpine with DWM, only 50-80 megabytes. Void with i3 reaches 100-150 megabytes. Think about this. The International Space Station uses modified Debian for its critical operations. Not Windows, not Mac OS. Why? Total control, absolute reliability, zero bloat. This means concrete results. Running a complete web server in 128 megabytes of RAM, having a responsive desktop system on 2010 hardware, achieving 30 to 40% superior battery life on laptops. But the real power is absolute control. You know exactly which services are running. No byte wasted on unused features. Zero telemetry, zero bloatware, zero surprises. The stack approach, building from the bottom. Think in layers. Layer 1, Linux. Layer 2, essential utilities, shell and core utils. Layer 3, display server, X11 or Wayland. Layer 4, desktop environment or window manager. Layer 5, user applications. With the anti-distro, you understand and control every single layer. It's like being an architect who builds from the foundation, not a tenant who inherits others' choices. Who benefits from this radical approach? Developers and DevOps get lightweight, production-ready containers, 100% reproducible test environment, lightning-fast CI/CD pipelines. Google uses Alpine Linux for its production containers. Why? Reduced attack surface, increased security, superior performance. If it's good enough for Google, it's probably good enough for you. Embedded systems enthusiasts can maximize Raspberry Pi performance, IoT devices with minimal footprint, custom routers and firewalls. Alpine is perfect for OpenWRT alternatives. Privacy advocates have total control, no hidden data collection, possibility of complete code audit, hardened system for maximum security. Edward Snowden has always maintained, control of your system is the first line of defense for your privacy. The anti-distro is exactly this, total control. Power users seeking extreme optimization, gamers who want every available megahertz, content creators with custom workflows, sysadmins managing dozens of servers. The main criticism is always, it's too difficult for the average user. The answer? It's a learning opportunity, not an obstacle, a path toward true system understanding. The initial difficulty pays off with permanent freedom. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is all great for nerds in their basement, but what about the real world? Here's the thing. The anti-distro philosophy is already changing how we use technology in ways you might not expect. Take the Pine phone running Alpine, for example. It's not just a cool tech project. It's journalists and activists in hostile environments who need a phone they can actually trust. Or look at schools converting old Chromebooks into legitimate learning machines. Hardware that Google wanted obsolete, now it's teaching kids to code. And it goes deeper. Intelligence agencies and investigative journalists aren't running bloated systems on their secure workstations. They can't afford to. Every running service is a potential vulnerability. Every gigabyte of unnecessary code is a risk they won't take. The same principle applies to those public information kiosks you see at airports or libraries. Minimal attack surface isn't just a buzzword, it's a necessity. But let's be honest about the elephant in the room. This isn't easy. The learning curve is real. You're not going to install Gen 2 on a Sunday afternoon and have it running by dinner. Documentation is scattered across wikis, forums, and outdated blog posts. Modern hardware support can be frustrating. And forget about plug and play. You'll be manually configuring things that just work on Ubuntu. The communities, while passionate, are smaller, sometimes intimidatingly technical. You won't find many top 10 easy steps tutorials because, frankly, there aren't 10 easy steps. Yet something interesting is happening. The tooling is evolving. Nix is bringing reproducibility to package management in ways that would have seemed impossible a decade ago. Projects like Artix are making Arch accessible without systemd. Anti-X proves you can be user-friendly and minimal at the same time. Their live USB gets you running on ancient hardware in minutes, not hours, and the momentum is building in unexpected places. When Google and Amazon standardized on Alpine for their container infrastructure, it wasn't about philosophy, it was pure economics. Switching from Ubuntu to Alpine in production environments can slash cloud costs by up to 60%. Think about that for a moment. We're not talking about marginal improvements or theoretical benefits. This is real money, real infrastructure, real impact at scale. And that economic argument opens a door to something even more important: sustainability. Because here's what nobody talks about. That laptop from 2015 gathering dust in your closet, it doesn't need to die. That desktop your office was going to trash, it could run for another decade. We've created this manufactured obsolescence cycle where perfectly functional hardware gets labeled too slow simply because it can't run the latest bloated operating system. The anti-distro breaks that cycle. Suddenly, obsolete hardware isn't obsolete anymore. Energy consumption drops not by percentages, but by orders of magnitude. And we're not just saving individual machines, we're talking about keeping tons of electronic waste out of landfills. Linux becomes more than a technical choice, it becomes an ecological imperative. But something else is happening, something I find even more exciting. There's a renaissance of curiosity emerging. A new generation is pushing back against the black boxes they've been handed. They're tired of iOS telling them what they can install, exhausted by Chrome OS deciding what they can customize. They want to understand their systems, not just consume them. This isn't nostalgia for some golden age of computing. It's a reaction to digital serfdom. It's young developers realizing that digital sovereignty isn't a buzzword. It's about actually owning your tools instead of renting them from corporations who can change the terms whenever they want. Look, the anti-distro isn't for everyone, and that's perfectly fine. But for those who want ultimate control, maximum efficiency, and deep understanding of their operating system, it represents something vital. It's Linux brought back to its essence: freedom, transparency, power to the user. And I genuinely believe we're close to a breakthrough. Someone, somewhere, is going to create a tool that makes this accessible. A way to build your system from scratch through simple choices without sacrificing the philosophy. When that happens, the barrier between I want to and I can will finally collapse. So what will you do? Will you continue to accept the bloat, decisions made by others, gigabytes of code you never asked for, or will you take control? Richard Stallman said, "Free software is a matter of freedom, not price." The anti-distro takes this freedom to the extreme, the freedom to choose every single byte of your system. Here are the first steps. 1. Start simple. Try Alpine Linux or Void in a VM. 2. Experiment. Install Arch following the wiki, one step at a time. Challenge yourself. Raise the bar. Failure actually just makes you grow, because success is a wall built with bricks called failures. There are immense resources to get started. Alpine Linux documentation, comprehensive and well-written. Arch Wiki, the Bible for understanding every Linux component. Gentoo Handbook, step-by-step guide to compiling from scratch. LFS book for true purists, just simply read. The anti-distro isn't just an operating system, it's a philosophy. It's taking back possession of your technology, understanding what's running on your machine, optimizing every byte. It's the difference between driving an automatic car and mastering a manual sports car. It's the difference between being driven and being the driver ourselves. Putting ourselves at the center, our true needs, our true ambitions, without spending thousands of dollars on products that in 3 years will end up in a landfill and that in reality could function for another 10. Where do we think we're headed? In this loop of applications that freeze on hyper-metabolized machines where we install gigabytes of code pumped to the nth power to satisfy a delusion of omnipotence that's an end in itself, and that simply serves to feed our existential void and the pockets of multinational computer manufacturers. Well, I chose to take the anti-distro path, and I hope that one day you too will find the courage to do so. You don't need to be good, you don't need to know, you simply need to want to do it. See you in the next video. Stay minimal, stay powerful.